week, they will be handling this subject. So same pa din, Miss Christine Joy. So they will ask questions, they will have activities during the discussion while you will record the scores every other week. So you will not have a problem with that. Every week we'll still meet like like we used to. And next week you'll have your quiz. It is an asynchronous quiz with we will start with your first ever topic until today. I will give your PowerPoint presentation later, and the quiz will be 24 hours. It will be open for 24 hours, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so I will not mention the name of my STs, but next week they will start the discussion. Most of them. Okay, so I hope that you will enjoy and you will learn from them too and accept them as your teachers, because someday you will be like them too. And I just hope that you will um let's say, I just hope that you will experience the face-to-face classes if you will be allowed to, because it's actually better than online class. But as of the moment, online class is what we what's available as of the moment. So well, let's now begin our discussion, and I'll share my PowerPoint presentation for you. Okay, so let's wait. It's now the call is being recorded, by the way. So our first strategy, our first discussion is for today, rather, is communication and its diversity. So as you can see, I used a very diverse women. Okay, women or women of color, women of race. So communication is very diverse, and we'll see. So there are different communication strategies. So it vary in use and manner. The strategy that learners will use depends largely, teka lang, dami pumapasok. Largely on the concept or idea being communicated about. So the strategies may be done online, video, audio, or visual and written. So those are the definition of communication strategies. Now, there are different types of communication strategies that we could use. Now, my dear students, as of the moment, we're using verbal distance kasi we're not in the same class. So the different communication strategies that we have are non-verbal, verbal face-to-face, verbal distance, written, formal, and informal. So those are the different communication strategies. Now, let us have a review about the different, about our lesson last time. Okay, before, kasi ito, ulit na lang siya eh. So now, I will ask you, what is our lesson last time? Okay, what did you learn, or what, let's have a review. What did you learn last time about communication? My dear students? Anyone from the group? You could raise your hand, or of course, you should type on the chat box. What can you remember about our discussion last meeting? Anyone?
Ma'am,
Yes, Ansel.
about communication po.
About communication. Oh, give me something that you have learned last time and that you can still remember.
Ma'am, can I speak some Tagalog?
Okay, sige.
Sorry,
It's
mama.
fine. It's
Ano po,
fine.
yung mga natutunan ko po, yung paano po nakikipag-communicate yung mga tao. Di ba po, iba-iba po tayo ng mga lugar, like bansa po. Ayun. So, paano po ba sila nakakapagkaintindihan? Ayun po. Ayun po yung mga natandaan ko last meeting po natin, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that,
Thank you po.
Ansel. Joseph Kamwa, you're raising your hand.
Ay, yung ano po, yung types of communication po, yung intrapersonal communication, interpersonal communication, ano po ba yun? Small group communication, tsaka yung public communication po.
Okay, very good. Joseph, kinakausap mo ba ang iyong sarili, especially this time of our life, our pandemic?
Opo.
Kinakausap mo ba yung sarili mo? Kumusta
Tuwing
si
gabi po.
Joseph? Kamusta naman si Joseph?
Medyo okay po.
Medyo okay. Okay. At least ha, may part na okay. Thank you, Joseph, for that.
Thank you po.
Genesis Morales, how about you?
Yung tungkol po sa English is just for foreign language to them po. Yung ano po, yung inner circle po, outer circle, and expanding circle po.
Okay, saan tayo
Yun po
kabilang
yung
Genesis?
sa ano po, ma'am, outer circle po.
Bakit tayo outer circle?
Kasi po yung sa inner po, yun po talaga yung kasi po second language po natin yung English, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So, sabi mo sa inner, ano yung nasa inner circle? Yung mga, ano yun, bigay ka ng isang
US po,
country.
yun po yung
Yes, very good. Okay, so
US
give me
po,
an,
UK po,
tama, tama.
po.
Yes, because that is their first language. Very good, Genesis. Thank you for that. Mark Ramos.
Ma'am, ano po, formal and informal po.
Okay. So, what is what can you remember about the informal language? Ano ba informal?
Yung informal po, ma'am, ano po, ayun po yung ginagamit po ng mga ano po. Pag po nakikipag-usap po sa mga hindi naman po yung mataas po na nakatataas po na tao, ma'am. Parang ano po, para po may mga ano pa pong mga words ganun, mga Bible.
Okay. Ayun. So, when we use informal language, we're using colloquial terms, which is not accepted. Okay? Mga balbal in Filipino. Very good. It's good that you could interchange, incorporate what you've learned in Filipino class and also in English class. Very good, Mark. Let's have Nalaine. Nalaine Mauyaw.
Ma'am, yung dun po sa mga speech sounds po, yung sa phonology, ayun po, ma'am.
Yes.
Iba po sa Japanese, yung naiba po yung sa pag yung sa mga ano po nila. Yung nasa side picture po
Okay.
yung letter L po sa letter R. Yung mga ganun.
Okay.
Hindi po
Very
na kayo
good.
speak
Di
talaga
na
ng fluent English.
Okay, because there are some letters that's not available in Japanese characters. Very good, Nalay. So, natandaan mo pa yon. John Michael Gabriel.
Ma'am, yung sa standard and non-standard English po, na yung sa standard po, yung kadalasan po, ginagamit po siya sa spoken and sa written po. And then yung sa non-standard po, yung sa mga incorrect po, yung mga hindi po masyadong fluent sa paggamit ng English.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So what we're using in academes, we're using formal English. Very good. So I'll just call Christine Enrica, okay? So that we could start. So let's start first with Christine Joy.
Ma'am, yung intra po, yung parang isipin po muna natin kung ano yung sasabihin natin bago natin direct na sabihin sa kapwa natin. Tapos yung ano naman po, yung inter naman po, yung pagka, pwede po tayong mag-share sa family natin or friends natin. Ganun po.
Okay. Intrapersonal is sharing to other people. I think both of you are saying is intra. However, it is true that before you share your thoughts to other people, you need to really think kasi especially ngayon, my God, a lot of people are being bullied because of a very minimal mistake. Okay? Hindi kasi pinag-isipan yung words. Okay, I'll give you an example. Dun sa, yung, di ba, one of the best examples as of the moment is yung sa lugaw. Lugaw is not essential. Maybe, di ba, meron tayong tinatawag na curfew. So, it is not advised that someone will go beyond the curfew hours kasi that is the ordinance from the local government. So maybe the person na sinasabi niya dapat, kung dapat ang sinabi niya, dapat kung magpapadeliver ka ng lugaw is during the curfew hours. Tapos, initin mo na lang or yung ganon. Pero yung kasi, because of some hindi niya na pag-isipan, siguro nga pagod na siya or whatsoever man, naka-video pa and whatsoever, hindi essential ang lugaw. So, nagkaroon siya ng, nabully siya and a lot of things na alam naman natin na ang tinutukoy niya, I mean, if it was me, alam ko na mali ang ginawa ko kasi hindi dapat sa ngayong oras, hindi ako dapat nagpa-deliver, may utos naman si local government that I should not. But since people nowadays keeps on bullying other people, keeps on making memes, keeps on a lot of stuff, okay? So, hindi na, dapat naisip niya na so that it won't be misinterpreted. Nung kinausap niya yung bata or sinita niya yung bata, she should have mentioned, she should have used correct words. Okay, so kung sinabi lang niya na sana nagpa-deliver ka ng mas maaga, ibinigyan natin ng oras na sana kesa ganito, kesa ganyan, and wag ka naman magpa-deliver ng gabi so that the rider also are safe sa bahay. Mga ganun bang mga bagay. Sana ganun na lang. And kasi pasigaw pa siya, the way she said those words. That's why it bottled up. And now, a lot of people are using this, her words. Kasi hindi siya napag-isipan. Hindi talaga napag-isipan yung time na yon. Okay, and last one, Rika. What did you learn last time? Rika May.
Ma'am, yung four major spelling errors of non-native English po.
Okay.
Yung omission, substitution, transportation, saka insertion or addition po.
Wow. Okay, so give me based on your opinion, Rika, as a second language learner, which of the following do you think is common to you or to your classmates or previous classmates, to your group?
Ano po, ma'am? Siguro po yung para sa akin yung insertion or addition po. Yung adding extra letters po.
Oh, tama.
Opo, some of them po, mahilig po sila mag-add po ng letters po kahit ano. Yun po.
Actually, totoo yun, Rika, no? Some of my students before, tawang-tawa ko sa kanya. Sabi ko, bakit may extra letter to? Tapos sabi niyo, ma'am, dinagdagan ko na para tama. Okay, so, minsan, we know naman, Filipinos are very funny and very full of kalokohan, ano? And yun yung some of my students, ganun. Bakit mo binawasan? Ma'am, di naman binibigkas. So, yun kasi problema sa atin. We Filipinos, the way we speak, that is how we kaya nga bye-bye. So the way how we speak, yun yung nakikita mo. Hindi sa English, this is how you say it, but it's not mentioned. Nari sa atin kalye, like that. Alam mo, Kalye, kalye. But to some others, for example, lalo na nag-IPA in English, meron din tayo na mga IPA. So sa street, capital I na gano'n kasi ganon, di ba? So, street, iba yung double E pala yun, may mga ganon. So, it's hard for us to spell those words. Sometimes we put and subtract different letters from a spelling word, especially if it's, for example, French, yung mga ganon, kaloka. Okay? So, and of course, a lot of English and different pronunciation, nakakaloka na. So, now we will discuss of course, we will go back to the types of communication strategies. So a while ago, we have discussed, what is this? What is that? I know you already know this one because you've already mentioned it today. So now we will focus on some communication strategies. That is some helpful also from our module. So formal type, this type of communication is also referred to as official communication and covers the gamut of a verbal expression that address a formal need. It is conducted through a predetermined channel, and for instance, a large number of interactions one makes within one's profession and legal expressions are examples of formal communication. So, legal, okay? So, it is standard. And the good thing about this formal communication is that you don't have, you don't need to interpret this kasi pag standard, it is what you see, what you get. So it's a good thing. It is also used by most offices, especially if they are in ISO, yung mga ganon, yung talagang very standard. So it follows a particular communication protocol. So written forms which are provided based on the oral conversation in minutes of a meeting or seminar can be recorded for transcription. So this could also be considered as a reliable source of information. Each office have their different patterns on how they want it to be delivered. So for example, di ba, for example, the Meneses page, you could any person could not post something basta-basta sa Meneses page. And because that is what we look to nowadays, diba? Yun yung tinitignan natin. Ay, may pasok ba? Ayan, yung Dambana. Dambana in Meneses, that's very important. Hindi sila pwedeng, they cannot just post anything, unreliable resources. May kahit Facebook yan. Because nowadays, that is where we look. Di po ba? So we keep on ay, teka. Tingnan nga natin, sabi ni Dambana, ay, walang pasok bukas. Tapos meron pala. O, di ba? So, di ba, syempre, magagalit kayo bukas. Magagalit kayo. So, it is a reliable source because they should be reliable. And formal din ang tawag pag, for example, you go to meetings. Yung meetings natin ngayon are informal. But, for example, the board of directors will have a meeting. So, there is a specific format for minutes of the meeting because you need to record some stuff and sort. So formal type yon. So formal communication forms the core of one's professional life. And as a writer, it is important to learn formal writing to succeed in advance. One can excel in this type of communication when he begins clarifying the purpose of this communication. When a writer follows a well-defined structure for his audience to easily understood the message, when he keeps his tone open, professional, and friendly, when he ends by reiterating what he expects to happen in this communication, and when he thanks his audience for listening. So formal type siya kasi if you will, for example, you will there is a pattern, there is a standard way of doing so. So it is formal type yon. So it should be in the standard. So there's always a pattern, ganito siya dapat, ganito. And of course, it should be professional and friendly. But that doesn't mean na, oy friend, di ganon, walang ganon dun sa sa formal communication. But rather, the tone is, kasi di ba, some people, they write parang galit tignan. Ay, ano ba to? Parang galit. So, dapat hindi ganon. So, anyone, ganito dapat in a formal write-up, anyone, kahit kunwari, ibigay mo kunwari dito sa klase na to, bigay mo dito kay number 1, kay number 2, number 3. They will have the same interpretation. Hindi yung pag hindi formal, kunwari informal, ay, offensive. Ay, ano to? Kasi isa naman, okay. Hindi dapat ganon. In a formal type, since there is a standard way, it should be only one interpretation, which is what the writer is telling about. That's why, di ba sa research, daming edit, kaloka. I know some of you nag-senior high kayo, so you know how to write a research paper, and maybe you have the idea. O sige, you have the idea. So the fourth year students that we have right now, you wrote a lot of research paper. Bakit kay ano pwede? But why is it in this panel? It's not correct. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? Bakit tatlo yung panel? Kasi dapat tatlo yan dahil both of those three panels must have one thought. Kailangan yung research mo, hindi pagdating kay isang panel, okay. Dito kay panel, hindi. Hindi dapat ganon. Dapat both. Okay, that's why the panels must be like this. One statistician, one expert, and one English language something. Or maybe two experts of the field. For example, you'd have a research. They read, the mathematical interpretation of this one is wrong. Mathematical daw. Tapos din naman, kunwari, may psychology kayo, kunwari. Sabi ng psychologist, this is perfect. Ganun. Kaso the way you speak in English, the way you write it in English, it's not. It's very, ang daming gulo. So that's the reason why a formal type, especially in research, sobrang sakit sa ulo kasi ang daming pagdadaanan. They said research is fun, But it's a tedious work and it's very sobra, ultimate sobra talaga, napakagastos. Okay? Isa yon. Okay? So, luckily, nowadays, you don't need to print and photocopy most of the time, most of the answer sheets. But before, of course, ibang gastos naman yung ginawa ng mga nag-defend sa atin. So informal type, of course, it is popular, often performed by word of mouth, transfer of information. This type of communication is unofficial yet provocative information, spontaneous and free-flowing, and is not restricted by any formal structure or standards. This type of information is also less reliable or accurate. A communication channel that spreads like wildfire as there are no formal rules. Lang. Ayan. So to follow is considered informal. Tawag dito? There are no formal rules, okay? So mostly oral with no documentation evidences is informal. Because of this, many underestimate the significance of informal communication and considered it as hearsay. But of course, despite its drawbacks, informal communication um, is considered user-friendly and hence offers huge advantages when used wisely. So let's have this one. If, for example, let's use the napakainit na talakayan of the public figure. Actually, I didn't read it. I didn't watch Tulfo, but I have a lot of memes that was shared, and some of my students are actually I student ko nga pala si the president. Okay. Or yung student ko siya before in my first year of teaching. If for example the letter, the news, okay, so someone from the news will report this kind of issue, they will formulate, okay, a news headline, a standard one, pag formal, standard one, and then that is relevant. That's one. The first thing nakikita mo, yun na yung thought, yun na yung question. Kasi ganun dapat ang headline. Okay? Headline dapat, kung ano yung kita mo, walang interpretation. Kaya mali yung mga clickbait na ginagawa ng ibang, hindi ko alam kung ano nangyari sa kanila. So, I don't know why. Then, during the story will be narrated. Narrated siya ng maayos. The different parties will have better arguments. Okay? So, maayos yon, ire-report. So, ganun pag formal type. However, when we have informal type, paano ang report niyan? Okay, so paano yung mga posts of some concerned individuals or some nakikibangka? Gagawa nila ng paraan so that it will be very yummy. Okay, so it will create a lot of attention. Okay, so ipupush nila yung mga the ideas na talaga nakakatuwa. Okay, lahat na matutuwa yung tao, i-share ng tao because they are looking for the likes, the shares, because it is equal to money. Okay, so marami silang gagawin na ganon. So that is informal type. Okay, so it's yummy, it's user friendly, but the problem is it's not it's very biased. Okay? So I will give you an example. Another example for this is related naman sa inyo as a teacher. Okay? So for example, time will come, you will be an advisor of a class. Okay? Some of your advisees will tell you, ma'am, sir, si sir ganito po, si sir, for example, let's give a name, si Sir John, okay, si Sir John po, nanghaharas, that is a big one, okay, oh my God, nanghaharas, okay, ganun, anong ginagawa? So, ma'am, pinakain po kami ng papel, tapos hindi po yan nagtuturo eh. So, sige, sabi ng ganun. So, ikaw, that is very informal. You should, before you take action, before ka makisawsaw, you should ask the students to write and let them sign. Or ask them to, formal letter, black and white. If they really want to go and magreklamo. But, if for example, they do not want yung mga ganun lang, wag mo masyado siyang pinakikinggan. Kasi, some students, I'm not saying you guys, but there are some students who want their teachers to fight. Or, they have different interpretations of doing such things. For example, sabi, hindi nagtuturo yung isang teacher. Nagtuturo naman pala, kaya lang lagi siyang wala. Pinakain ng papel. Okay, so yung pala, we don't know, maybe there's a science behind those kind of papers. Okay, class, ito ang para what if pala ang nangyari ay, nung unang panahon, ito lang, pag gutom na gutom ka, pwede mo itong kainin kasi ganyan-ganyan. There's a calories, ganyan. Tapos kinain nila, buong klase kasama si teacher. Pero iba yung interpretation. So, para hindi ka mapahiya, as a teacher, you should ask them to write black and white and or do not entertain those or ask them or clarify those kind of information. Kasi it happens, especially in junior high school, bata pa yung mga bata eh. So they have a lot of ideas. Before ka na baka magsumbong ka agad sa you need to ask a lot of things first. Okay? So, you need to, those are informal, those are opinions. So, you need to know the facts first. Always go with the facts. Huwag ka masyadong madamdamin. Okay? So, you need to ask for facts first before you attack. Okay. So, we also have this oral face-to-face time. Okay? So, na-miss ko tuloy yung face-to-face. Yung tool po kasi wala masyadong action. Yung face-to-face, action yan eh. So, face-to-face oral is the most common and most powerful type of communication. So, it is a direct sending of message and can be formal. So, for example, a formal meeting or seminar, or informal with family and friends. So, these types of communication get better with practice. So, the more one practices with awareness, the more he is control of one's oral expressions. As a teacher, yung mga fourth year ko, I know you already know the assessment of your class. Okay? And mayroon din naman tayo na tinatawag na for the first year students, as a teacher, we don't just assess the grades. For example, natutunan ba did the students understand this? Okay, let's have a mini quiz. Let's have a recitation. Okay, diba gano'n? But as a teacher, we also assess the looks of our students. For example, it's very important. For example, you're discussing. Okay, so since you're Filipino major, let's say you are discussing Ibong Adarna. So as you can see, you're discussing Ibong Adarna, and some of the members of the class are very gumagano na. Nilagay ka naman kasi sa 2:00 ng tanghali. Tok na sila. Ay gumagano na. So what you should do? So as based on this one, inaantok sila, what can I do? Okay, magagalit ka ba? Ikaw nga, tingin mo ba maayos yung ginagawa kong pagtuturo? You check yourself. Nakakaantok ba ako? Okay. So if the answer is yes, okay, so of course you need to be open, you know yourself. Baka kailangan ko magpa-activity. Hindi na ba yung activity na sobrang like, for example, okay, class, you could do this. Okay, you could do that. O, di ba? Pwedeng ganun lang. Or maybe, at this moment, baka kailangan nila na, okay, class, let's have a 2-minute break. And then, you could shake. Everybody shake. Pwedeng ganon. Or maybe, some of my teachers, one of the things that he did is, kasi masakit siya. Yung blackboard, tinap niya ng sobrang lakas. Gulat. Okay na kayo. Gising na kayo. Like that. But it hurts. Actually, natry ko yun. Inano ko yung table, lakas. Nagising sila, pero ang hapde. Okay. So, napaka-hapde. But, gising sila. Okay, tuloy na klase. So, that's what I did. And aside from that, I also found some activities na nakakabuhay. Like, for example, I told them that PowerPoint presentation kami. And then, they will take down notes. Okay? So, they're allowed to take down notes. Kasi sabi, okay, ayaw nilang magsulat. Okay? Tinatamad sila. So, ang ginawa ko, so I told them, okay, PowerPoint presentation. Afterwards, we will have
a recitation. Tapos, yung pinakamadaming mare-recite ay hindi na magku-quiz bukas. Okay, sabi? And then, they love it. Okay, sometimes, group quiz naman. Okay, so mga ganon. They are excited. So, you need to put something to make sure that as a teacher, meron kang, your students will not be bored. Kasi minsan ako, kagaya ngayon, wala akong magawa, ano? Kaya yung pagtatanong ko hindi naka-schedule. So I always ask questions, but I am not telling you when. So that, pag napapansin ko na masyado na akong humahaba sa pagsasalita, nagtatanong na ako. Okay, so like this one, let's have, kindly open your mic. Are you awake? Beljon Regalon, are you awake? Nandito ka. Beljon, ano yung, can you give me a sample strategy in which your teacher, or if you will be the teacher, na pwede mong gawin pag inaantok yung klase?
Ang gagawin ko po, sa totoo po ma'am, ang gagawin ko po talaga ma'am, ano muna. Bago po magsimula yung klase, pag-exercising ko muna sila ma'am. Para po mag-warm up po sila, para po magising lang po.
Para magising lang sila. Okay, very good. Okay, so tama yun. Some. Pero that's very effective, Beljon. Actually, pag malapit ka sa recess, alam nyo ba, na this is just, I've learned while teaching in CIS, ayaw pala ng mga teacher na malapit sa recess. I mean, yung after recess, okay lang sa kanila ng lunch, but they do not want after recess. So, tingnan nga natin. Daisy, Antolin, bakit kaya, ano meron sa recess na wala sa lunch, usually? Daisy, you're here. Miss Antolin. Yes, ano ang meron?
After po ba ng recess po? O before po recess?
After ng recess. Ano kaya ang meron doon na ayaw ng mga teacher? Yung after recess, ayaw nila magturo.
Para po sa po yung mga students, parang busog na po sila, gano'n. Parang nakakain na po sila. Parang tinatamad na po. Parang naboboard
tinatamad or naboboard. Merong kinakain sa... Okay, thank you. That's one. Okay, so, yun nga yung tanong ko. Sabi ko, dahil ba, bakit ayaw nila magpalagay ng recess? After recess. Pero okay lang sa kanila ng lunch. Yung pala, kasi ang baon ng bata ay chocolate, lahat ng matatamis. Di ba pag cupcakes, chocolates, and sort of. Pag pala ganon, sobrang ingay pala after recess. Pag daw kasi lunch, kagaya ng sabi ni Miss Antolin, okay lang kumain kasi busog, inaantok. So, ang mangyayari nun, medyo tahimik sila kasi busog, inaantok sila. So, bubuhayin mo lang sila. But, after recess, dahil kumain ng chocolate, kumain ng junk food, chocolate drink ang ininom na chocolate, ang baong tinapay, ang baong pancake, hindi nila maano yung klase kasi sobrang nagsisigaw, gustong tumakbo. Kaya dun papasok yung sabi kanina na activity ni Beljon. You need to have exercise after recess. Yung excess na nila, pwede mo siyang patanggal. Especially, kaya there are some schools, bawal ang chocolate sa kanila kasi nga, kinahirapan yung teacher i-control yung mga students. So, that's one. Okay, so you need to assess your students. And in a seminar, you also need to assess if they could, kaya lang mahirap ngayong mahirap ngayong ganito kasi I know some of you nakahiga dyan, may iniindang sakit, or maybe iniindang antok, or nagne-Netflix, and some of you are using ML2. Okay, so like yung mga napapanood natin. But you need to, as a teacher, isa yun sa ating gagawin is to think of different activities in which you could enhance the participation of the students. Oral face-to-face is this type of communication is very engaging that one cannot rehearse no matter how hard he tries. Of course, for example, sabi mo, okay, babasahin ko to. Magiging masaya ako. Di sabi gano'n, di ba? Okay, magiging masaya. Kailangan energetic. Kaso, the crowd is different. Okay, so I remember there was a time, okay, magpapagames ako dito, magpapagames ako. Sabi ko I told myself so. One class, may games kami, kaya lang, ayaw nila tumakbo. So, ay, ba yan? Ang tamang sagot ay people power. So, because Ninoy Aquino is Ninoy Aquino, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos, ang sagot is people power. Literature kasi yon. So, isa, tamad na tamad lang sila. People power. Tama yung sagot, pero boring. So, the activity, it failed. Okay? And the second one, tawa ko kasi people power yung sagot. Second class ko, sabi ko, ay, pangit sa kabila. So, maybe hindi na rin. Pero since I already put this on my lesson plan that I will have a game for my motivation, let us well try this with this section. Ay, nako, ang bongga. Nagtatatakbo, bakla kasi yung so sobrang saya niya, nagtatatakbo siya. Ang inilagay ng ate, World War II, sabi ko, pakalayo. Kaya yun nilagay niya, World War II, sabi. Pero masaya sila. And the class is very motivated, especially when they learn that the answer is people power and not World War II. So you could see, one activity, same, two different types of people, but they have different reactions. Okay? So we could say na they could not rehearse everything, but at least you should have a plan. If it does not happen the way you want it to, you should have a second plan. So it does not offer one opportunity to tune, revise, revoke, and fix what was already expressed. So minsan mahirap. Meron naman chance na, for example, you came very off, you're awkward, okay, you're awkward. So, and you cannot redo, you cannot undone, sabi nga nila, the things that you have already did. But sometimes, through time, okay, you could do something. So the listener can speak back to his audience in oral communication, enabling two-way communication more than any other channel. Okay, so you could ask your audience, oh, what did you see? What did you learn? So some, of course, you need to force. You need to force your audience. If your audience is very matamlay, you need to force them. And for superior face-to-face communication, a person must always meet the eyes of his students with confidence. Okay, conviction and openness. He shall practice before a mirror to perfect tone and expressions to convey a message. So it is suggested that one has to be ready to practice before conversing and persuading his audience. So now, I usually train my students. So as a teacher, of course, one of the things that you will do, so for English teachers, you will train extemporaneous speech, oration, declamation, reading, I forgot the reading, madamdaming pagbasa, interpretative reading. And for you Filipino teachers, future Filipino teachers, kayo naman, Tagalog version, may deklamasyon, may tula, may madamdaming pagbasa. So in order for them to relate to people, what I usually do is we go to the walk. After, for example, di ba, ini-expose mo sila sa crowd na ganito, na ganyan, na ganyan. But sometimes, you need to let them see themselves. Okay? Kasi kailangan, kahit nagde-declaim ka, maganda ka pa din. Hindi ka mukhang, di ba? Kailangan, maganda ka na. Why? Why do you need to be beautiful? To look beautiful and confident. Because the judges, imagine, you are the 20th person to present. May mga umiyak sa declamation. May mga nag-inarte, may mga gumulong at lahat-lahat. But if you are confident, if you are, your pronunciation is great, maganda ang iyong pagbibigkas in Filipino, and you look so beautiful, they will at least try to see you. Oh my God, this woman or this man, this student is very beautiful. He looks smart. He looks confident. Let's give it 2 minutes. Let's check. And that's the way you do it. So you need to eye contact. Even if no one stares at you, you need to have an eye contact. That's why we train in front of a mirror. Dinadala ko sila sa restroom. So I asked my supervisors to, is it okay, ma'am, sir? I will use the restroom. Pinapabakante ko yung restroom. No one will enter, and then my students will, in front of the mirror, because I cannot buy a very big mirror to fit my, we don't have a speech lab in CIS before. I just don't know if we have now. But I'm using the restroom. And then they will face themselves, then they could see, ay, ma'am, lumalaki yung ilong ko. Okay, so alam mo na, lumalaki yung ilong mo. Okay, so pinapaliit nila. As it depende sa kanila on how you want to be seen. Okay, so that's an example. So you could train, but of course, it depends on the situation. Okay, so it is also required for the speaker to become an active listener in order to have a productive communication process. For example, ikaw si speaker. Okay, ano po yung, what is your question? Di pa tapos yung nagtatanong, okay, next. O, di ba? Will they trust you? Of course, they won't trust you. So, we also have the oral and distance type. So, this is what we're doing right now. So, distance or oral communication has made the world a smaller and more accessible place. O, iba sa inyo, nag-aaral na sa Harvard ngayon, di ba? We are now allowed to enroll in Harvard University kasi nga sa distance. Some of you attended the New York Times seminar, okay? So, because of the distance type of learning. And we have received a lot of certificates. I mean, as a teacher, I don't know to you, but we have received a lot of education tips from a lot of people because of this pandemic. They keep on sending and giving us a lot of links to be so. So mobile phones, VoIP, video conferencing, two-way webinars, etc. are all modern expansions of distance communication, taking its expression to the next subtle level. So this is an example of this one. The speaker's tone of voice and pace of delivery take priority over the expressions. So for example, as a teacher, hindi tayo ganito ka-animate. So I will read you. Actually, I've attended this kind of seminar na yung speaker sobrang boring niya. Like, for effective oral communication over distance, one must give higher priority to the speaker's listening. Ako, si Bala, Diyos ko, antok na ako. Nakakaantok, grabe. Kasi hindi pa na kinakausap yung ano. So, as a speaker, as a teacher, you need to be animated. You need to make, sabi nga, wag dapat, sabi ni Inka Magnaye, just don't be monotonous. Okay? So, you could express yourself, you could do some activity, kahit umiindayog ka mag-isa dyan, kahit mukha kang tanga, as long as you could make sure that how you speak, how you say, okay siya. Okay? So, it's very important to use a lot of tone, okay, the rising and falling intonation, where it should be like that. You could sing, you could, I don't know if you could dance. Maybe some gestures will be fine too. Okay, when he fails to listen to his audience, he finds that people in the discussion attempt to speak at the same time, undermining the value of this form of communication. What signals an effective oral distance type is when the speaker slightly talks slower than what he does in a face-to-face communication. Medyo ano ako dyan, kasi minamadali ko yung oras because we only have 1 hour. So medyo, I think, may problem ako sa, mabilis yata ako magsalita. Okay? So I'll try to speak slower. This makes sure the speaker remains aware of the subtle nuances of his tone and the receiver has time to grasp what he tries to convey. So, of course, you should eliminate the noises that you already have. Okay. Oral distant communication requires careful listening, skill, and attention in missed and non-verbal signals. Kasi wala ka ng ibang gagawin. Just to make sure that the students are listening to you. Okay, so for example, one would receive in face-to-face communication such as anger, friendliness, receptivity, sarcasm, among other subtle expression, which would confirm that the other party is in active participation. However, in oral distance type, especially ngayon, nakapresent tayo, I cannot see your reaction. Okay, so I don't want you to open your camera kasi baka sabihin nyo, ma'am, wag na kasi malakas sa data, nagpapasagot ka na, nagpapa-turn on ka pa ng mic and sort of. So, that's a lot of things to handle. So, wag na, sige. Okay, as long as I could see that you're typing, you're answering, your recitation, it's fine. Next is the speaker must consider the tone of voice which has to convey openness. Next is oral distant type of communication must be backed up with written communication. So an example would be this this PowerPoint presentation. So through word of mouth, spoken words, communication, also any message information shared, exchange between one and another through speech and word mouth is called oral communication. So meron tayong public speech,
telephone or mobile conversations. So those are oral because you could see oral to oral communication because word of mouth. So as long as you could hear something, that is okay, oral siya. And written communication, which is nonverbal, happens through any word or written or often written sign, which refers to the languages used in any medium. For example, handwritten type. Of course, basta written yun. Okay. So let us now have verbal and nonverbal. Don't worry, we are almost finished. Okay. Sabi, the springboard of any personal business relation is effective communication, which is true. Okay, so imagine why do some people have partnership with different companies abroad because they have a good and they are effective communicators. The ability to understand and use non-verbal communication or body language is a powerful tool that can help to one connect with others, express the intended information, and build better relationships. So we want to build better relationship. Okay? That's why we want to talk. As a teacher, sana ang always I should always think that I want to be a better communicator because it's already hard for the students to understand the lesson. It's already big. I should not let them I should look for a better option for them so that they could understand the lesson, they could grasp the lesson easily. When one interacts with others, there is a continuous giving and receiving of wordless signals. These are through nonverbal behaviors, movements, the intensity of the voice, the pitch, and eye contact send strong message. So when one stops speaking and in silence, sending messages does not stop. One still communicates nonverbally. So nonverbal tayo. What comes out of the mouth and what body movement shows are two different things. When faced with these mixed signals, the listener has to choose whether to believe verbal or nonverbal messages. So now, may I ask, okay, so I know malapit na tayo. Oh, don't worry, malapit na tayo ha. For your next recitation, may I ask you, my dear students, you could use the chat box. Wala ata makaka-perfect ng ano natin kasi walang nagchat-chat sa ating chat box. Usapan natin, all recitations are recorded. And if you will not receive 5 points for this activity. Okay, nag-usap na tayo, ah? Don't forget that. So now, anyone, how do you say to your friend na I don't want to listen to your stories anymore. I'm so tired. I want to go home or whatsoever. Yung parang, how do you show that you are not interested with the topic? Non-verbally. Without telling, ayoko na. Tama na. My dear students, anyone? How do you show your classmate or your friend that you don't want to speak anymore? Anyone from this group? Yes, na Lane? Mauyaw?
Opo,
What do you
mauwi.
usually do?
Ano po siguro, ma'am, yung ibibisi ko po yung sarili ko. Halimbawa sa phone, magpo-phone po ako, ganun. Tapos parang di ko po siya papansinin, ganun. Tapos kung magkukwento
Okay.
sasabihin ko lang po. Ano?
Okay, so hindi mo napapansinin.
Opo,
Okay,
ganun po.
magse-cellphone ka na lang. Thank you, thank you. Joseph, kamo ah?
Ano po, sa akin po, magsusuot ako ng earphone. Kunyari po may music.
Sakit.
Kapag hindi ko gusto yung kumakausap sa akin, hindi ko napapansin. Kunyari may music akong pinapakinggan. Ganun po.
Okay. Okay, sige. Ang sakit na
Sorry
na.
po.
Okay, sige. Kasi ayaw nga makinig eh. Okay. Clarence, Nicolas. How
Ay, ma'am,
about you?
tatahimik na lang po, tapos tulog-tulugan na lang po.
Okay. Okay, so tatahimik, tulog-tulugan. Very good. Karen.
Ma'am, ako po siguro, napapansin po kasi ng iba kong kaibigan kapag ayaw ko talaga sila kausap, yung kilay ko po taas-baba lang ng taas-baba. Parang may naiintindihan po ako pero wala talaga.
Okay, so yeah, very subtle. Taas baba lang kilay. Very good. Christine Joy.
Ma'am, sasabihin ko po yung totoo para pagka hindi rin po siya interesado sa sasabihin ko or ikukwento ko sa susunod, sasabihin niya din po sa akin para hindi siya masayang yung boses niya.
Okay. So, you will not choose the non-verbal. Basta you will tell, ayoko, ganon. Hindi mo, okay. Okay, grabe yung kay Shyla, ipa-block daw siya. Okay, nagulat ako. Okay, so you will not to just tell the person, ayoko, hindi ka magna-non-verbal. Okay, so that's an option kung ayaw mo, kung you're very frank and honest. Okay, Genesis.
Ma'am, ano po, yung papakita ko po talaga yung facial expression ko para po mahalata niya na hindi po talaga ako interesado.
So, papakita mo talaga yung facial expression mo na you are really not interested. Okay, sige, that's 1, 2. Thank you. Medyo masakit yung mga gagawin natin, ano? John Michael Gabriel.
Ma'am, palalabasin ko po kunwari may tumatawag po sa akin and then uuwi na po ako kunwari po pinapauwi na ako.
Okay. Sige, I like that. So, palalabasin na may tumatawag sabay uwi. John Roma.
Ma'am, sa akin po, ma'am, dededmahin ko po siya, ma'am. Para po, kunwari po, hindi ko po talaga, ma'am, naririnig or wala po talaga ako pake sa sinasabi niya.
Okay, deadma. Wala akong nadidinig. Okay, Marilyn Tenorio.
Mama ko po, sa facial expression din po, tapos walk out.
Ay, out na. Okay, sige, that's nice. Elaine Iris.
Sasabihin ko po na may gagawin pa po akong iba.
Okay. So, magva-verbalize ka but not to tell directly na ayoko na kitang kausap. Uy, may gagawin pa ako. Okay. So, very, very kind of you. Rika May.
Ako, ma'am, siguro, ma'am, yung yung tatango-tango, tapos yung yung ganun lang po, yung expression lang. Tapos, syempre, mahalata naman po sila, hindi na niya gusto yung sinasabi ko, wag ko nang kausapin, ganun po.
Okay. So, I think she said, actually, very relatable. So, there are really people kasi talaga na they should, first pa lang, I think, bago ka mapunta dun sa talagang nagpanggap na may cellphone, nagsuot ng earphones, and natulog, before pa lang gawin ng isang tao yon, you should check the facial expression of your, the receiver. But some people, they cannot see that.
So, minsan, ang masama nun, yung yung nagsabi kanina na naglagay siya ng earphone, pagtanggal niya ng earphone, nagsasalita pa din yung kausap niya. Kasi there are really people that is, I don't know what's wrong with them. They really cannot understand that, stop talking, I don't want to talk to you anymore, please. Okay. So, may mga iba. So, magiging busy sa phone. I think most of us that's one of the things that we would do. Magiging busy ka sa phone. Okay, so that's, I think, a normal way we'll usually do. Yun nga lang, paano pag naiwan mo yung phone mo, no? Okay, so yun lang. So, non-verbal, kanina we were talking about, okay, wait lang. We're talking about non-verbal, so now we're talking about verbal, so non-verbal tayo. Non-verbal emotional awareness enables communicator to, one, accurately read other people, including the emotions they are feeling and the unspoken messages that they are sending. So create trust and relationship by sending non-verbal signals to match up with one's words, and respond in ways that show others understanding and care. So non-verbal is actually very important thing, that non-verbal communication. Some of us will will raise our hand. Kailangan, ito yung sinasabi natin, na whenever that you will be a teacher, whenever you will have a demonstration teaching, whenever you talk to public speaking, dapat, the way you speak, dapat pati isasama yung mata. And also hand gestures. Like, for example, are you ready? Pero ikaw, nakakatakot. So, you don't need to, you should not do that. Okay? So, also, emotional awareness is, you could feel, okay, I think my students are not listening anymore, or I think my friends are not listening anymore. So, you could, you're aware that they don't need, hindi na kailangan dumating sa point na umalis sila, they sleep, they put earphones in their ears, or or to even talk to you na, stop it. Nakakatamad kang kausap. Tigilan mo na ako. talagang ganun na, no? Sobrang nainis na sa'yo. And if you keep on talking, for example, napapansin mo na I've been talking a lot. I think it's 1 hour. Hindi ka naman teacher nila. So you need to be emotionally aware of the things that you're doing. And four, so if the relationship is meeting one's emotional needs, giving the option to either repair relationship or move on. So we could say there are some relationships that needs to be cut. Okay? And some, of course, nandyan, isa daw yung dapat sa tinitignan natin. Emotionally aware, am I giving this, I'm not just saying this for partners, but for friends. Am I giving the correct amount? Am I receiving the correct amount like that? So sometimes we need to cut relationship. If, for example, more on toxic or no one is opening or hindi kayo magkaayos. Or maybe you could repair your relationship before cutting off. One requires reading body language, managing stress, and recognizing emotions. Lead one to be better to read nonverbal signals sent by others. So as you can see, di na kayo bata. So whenever that your classmate is looking at the watch, yun pa lang nakita mo na nagtingin na sa watch, maybe you're too much. Okay? Or if, for example, you keep on saying something about yourself, or maybe, for example, you keep on telling stories about yourself, about your life, or maybe, let's say, 10 minutes non-stop, maybe you could ask your friend, oh, ikaw ba? Kamusta ka? How are you? And then let your friend talk for at least 10 minutes too. Okay? So, do not interrupt unless you're asked to. Wag mo i-push na, for example, sobrang gusto niya magkwento, like she has a problem or she's now open for telling you what she wants, and then you only gave her a very little amount of time, and then you start talking, okay, ako nga naku nga, ganito nga ang nangyari sa akin. So, hindi na siya nakapagsalita. So, you need to if you're a speaker, you need to listen and speak, then listen, speak, then listen. So it will be a better place if that happens. Man's face can express many emotions without uttering a word. So that's the reason why, ay, parang galit to. Ay, excited to, no? Ay, may kailangan to. O, may mga ganun. Minsan nakikita mo pa lang dito, ay, na-worried to Okay, so facial expressions are universal across cultures to show someone else happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, and disgust. So my dear student, they said, facial expression is universal. So pag masaya ka, nakagano ka, ma'am, sa German po, ganyan sila masaya. Di naman, di ba? Talaga pag masaya, you'll smile. If you're sad, you'll frown. There's a frown. Nakaganon. Okay? So, that's the difference between body language. So, some body language in other countries, ganon, and some, iba. But when it comes to facial expression, it's universal. So, pag galit sila. Hindi, ganyan sa Japan. Yung galit, natawang-tawa yan. Hindi naman ganon, diba? So, it depends. Facial expression, it does not depend on a country, but rather it's universal. Natatawa siya, so she's smiling. Okay? Yun. So the amount of eye contact is similar to facial expression. Eye contact is also an important nonverbal form. The way one looks at someone can communicate many things, including interest, affection, hostility, or attraction. Eye contact is also important in maintaining the flow of conversation and for gauging the other person's interest or response. As you can see, for example, mga bagong magjowa pa lang, okay, yung kasasagot pa lang. Diba, sobrang daming eye contact because you can't believe that you're with someone that you love or with someone that you like, that you've been courting for so many, maybe inintay mo. Okay, so, grabe, nakatingin ka lang dun sa mata niya na parang, she's so beautiful, he's so handsome, I love him, I like her. Okay, so, you can see, that's one. Okay, so now, for example, when you're speaking to someone and wala na yung eye contact, nakatingin na sa phone, nakatingin na sa kawalan, nakatingin na sa kung saan, maybe they're not interested anymore, or maybe, hindi naman kasi lagi na boring ka, but rather, maybe, meron lang talaga silang gagawin, that they need to finish, that they only gave you this amount of time because that is their free time, and they need to do something else. Okay? So let us not forget na we all have different timelines naman po. Okay, gestures. Kung kanina, facial expression is universal, gestures is different. So gestures are woven into a fabric of one's daily life. One waves, hi, si Sir Chief. Points, ayan. Naku, yung pagpo-point na yan, ayaw yan ng mga Filipinos. They keep on pointing, but when you point, a person points at you, gaanap ko ng away. So may mga ganun, ano? Especially the boys. Naku, yung ano na yan, yung point na yan, nagiging away yan sa junior high school kasi ang yabang daw. And especially yung tingin. So, bakit kayo nagsuntukan? Ang yabang po makatingin eh. Paano? Ganun pala. Ano siya? Sabi nga, sorry for the term, resting beach face pala si Guy na talagang lalaking mukhang nakakatakot. Tas napaaway. Ang sama naman, no, napaaway ka. Pero minsan ganun, ang daming away sa junior high na ganyan dahil because of that. And sometimes, hand motion, okay, sa hand motion is also very important, but too much is not also good. For example, when you want to make an argument, pwede yan, di ba? Sa ano yan? Sa mga tula, sa oration, ano yun? Tulanghan, ayun yun? Handa at ayun. Okay, basta yung handa at hindi handa. Sometimes if you want to make a certain point, okay, so put an emphasis, you need this. This. Okay, may mga gumaganyan-ganyan ka pa. But if you are always gumaganyan, ganyan, it's unnecessary, it's not good. You should stop. Okay? You should stop when you are too much. That's why you need to look at yourself. You need to look at the mirror. Tignan mo yung itsura mo. Ano itsura mo pag nagsasalita. So always look at that. Okay? So, and of course, a gesture, it might be different from one region to another region. So be careful. And sometimes it is not religious to do so. Touch. Okay, one communicates a great deal through touch, such as quick handshake, a timid tap on the shoulder, a warm bear hug, a reassuring slap on the back, patronizing tap, and the shoulder to pinch on the neck. So sometimes those kind of touch are okay. But to some, it is not. What if nasa Saudi ka, tinouch mo yung babae sa, naku, patay ka. Okay, it's not that good. Some people, they don't know, force field, I don't like to be touched. But some people are huggable bears, okay? So they love hugging, they love touching. That's why in reading, in teaching, we also have this TPR. So some people, so that especially for students, they like TPR or total physical response, in which they could touch. They will learn better if they are touching something else. Or TPR is also part of putting effort, like hand gestures kasama rin yan minsan. But touch is also important to some. Like for example, someone is crying, though you just pat the back. They're there, okay? Sheldon's here, like that. So it's what? Touch is the simplest type of communication and a fundamental aspect of life. Also, when you handshake, there's a not too tight, baka nasasaktan yung ka-handshake mo. Or maybe not too loose, na pag nag-shake kayo, biglang mababagsak, especially if that's a business deal. It's a deal. So dapat shake. So you should know how to use those kind of things. Hands are used to send messages, to pat, to slap, to pinch, to strike, to hold, to embrace, or to tickle. So, iba-iba yan. May hand, may touch tayo. Okay? So, body movements and posture is also important. So, babilisan ko na lang, my dear students, when you teach, when you go in front, okay, always remember, when you go in front, or even if you're just sitting, because it's online class today, you need to be confident. So, kailangan maganda ka, malinis kang tignan, you look fresh, you're beautiful. For girls, you put a little bit of color for yourself, or you arrange your hair, mukha kang naligo, and whatsoever. And you need to do those things. Okay? My dear students, you need to do those things. Maayos dapat. So, you should be confident. Okay? Because if you're not confident, no one will believe you, or they will make fun of you. Okay, so avoid that. So good posture is very important, especially during your demonstration, teaching, research presentation, kasi it will give an effect that you know what you're doing. Pag nakaganon ka, sir, pasensya na po, ganyan, may makakainisan ka because, ano ba, do you know what you're doing? Like that. So, body movements and posture are very important too. Appearance, my dear students. Ayan, especially those who will be your teacher for next week. Wear the proper attire that was suggested. Okay? Put makeup for the girls. Make sure that the boys have clean cut. Okay? And also the rest of the class din, ha? If you will have a demo, okay? Clean cut dapat si boys, mukhang naligo. Ang girls and boys, mukhang mabango. And of course, you should maayos na din ang mga buhok, hindi mukhang bagong gising. Okay? So that is very important for us, the appearance. The looks will give you an edge. Always remember that. I'm not saying that as a woman, you need to put, to show a lot of skin. No, you need to look professional. And if you want to, you could go to Pinterest or look for some inspiration that fits with your likes and dislikes. So for example, ma'am, hindi ako mahilig sa colorful. Okay, so you wear black. Look for different black material that could look elegant. Okay, what are the different earrings that you could pair off? Or for the boys naman, ma'am, hindi talaga ako mahilig magdamit. Fine, no worries. Ayaw mo magdamit ng maayos. Maybe just buy at least a week worth of clothes na that you will wear during your presentation lang, that is clean, that looks good on you, that you're comfortable, and whatsoever. So kasama yun, dapat sa tinitignan. Space is also important. Sorry po kung medyo nag-overtime ako. One may feel uncomfortable during conversation because masyado siyang sa space. So a good example for that is, di ba sa armchair, if you remember, some students na nakaupo sa armrest, masyado nilang ginigit-git yung isa. Para naglalagay pa sila dito sa kabila ng braso nila. Some people, they do not like that. Eh, yung iba ginagawa, they keep on teasing their classmates. That's not good. Kasi una-una ang lagkit. Okay, some people, nililinis nila talaga yung table nila. And this is my working space. I designed this one. This is where I put my notebook. This is where I put my bag. So stop going to my space. Okay, so you need space. Everybody needs space. And okay, so pakibasa na lang po kasi malilate na tayo. So my dear students, aside from that, it is also important to it's very important for us to be relax. Okay? Isa yun sa lesson, hindi ko na diniretso. But being relaxed is also important. So you should have a stress-free environment. But of course, my dear students, let's face the fact na hindi naman natin kayang lagi mag-stress-free. But we need to make, if we cannot have the stress-free environment, we should at least have, we should do something that makes us happier, a little bit happier. Okay? So, did you understand our lesson? Sorry again for 10 minutes. 10 minutes akong nag-extend. Do you have any question? Okay, if no one will ask a question, for my student teachers, you may leave the room. See you later sa next class. And the rest of you, before you leave, don't forget to write the following. Okay, so what? To answer this, you could use the chat box before you leave. So what do you do to distress? Okay, so what do you do before you leave the room? I just want to ask, what do you do to distress? Paano ka magtanggal ng stress? What is your tip, or what you usually do to remove your stress? Now, after answering that, you could turn on your mic to answer, or you could just type it down. Okay? Both will do.
Ma'am.
Yes, Genesis. Okay, Genesis?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ako po, ang ginagawa po, pag na-stress po ako, usually po ginagawa ko, nanonood po nag-spend po ako ng time sa pamamagitan po ng movie, na ayun po, and then ayun po yung mga pagkain po na masarap. Ganun po, ma'am.
Okay, so movie time and eating. Thank you, Genesis, for that. John, Michael, how about you?
Thank you po, ma'am.
Ako po usually ang ginagawa ko po, pumunta po sa isang fresh air na lugar or humihinga po ako ng malalim and iniisip ko po na dapat hindi po magpaka-stress sa bagay na to kasi unang-una sa lahat, papangit po ako. Thank you po, ma'am.
Totoo yan. Di tayo dapat pumapangit sa mga ganyang bagay. Very good. Nalaine.
Ma'am, ano po, 'di ba ngayon sa mga plant po, yung tumitingin sa mga halaman, sa mga green na basta green po na yung mga kalmado po na mga ayun po. Tas nanonood din po ng anime.
Wow. Okay, so plantita ka and also you love anime. Very good. Marilyn.
Ma'am, ako po pupunta po ako sa ibang lugar. Ay, sa tahimik po na lugar. Tapos mag-iisip po ako. Tapos pag okay na po ako, yun ulit po, laban lang po ulit.
Okay, that's a good one. Very good, Marilyn. Melanie.
Ma'am, ano po, makikinig po ng music po, tapos po manonood po ng mga nakakatawa po, ganun.
Okay, so makikinig ng music, tapos nanonood na nakakatawa. Very good. Again, those students already typed their answers. You could now go. So, Joseph Kamwa.
Hello po.
Yes,
Ako po
Joseph.
kasi kapag na-stress, sinashare ko po sa mga kaibigan ko. Yung mga kaibigan ko po na yung mag-a-advise po sila sa akin kung ano po dapat kong gawin para maalis ko yung stress ko. Ganun po.
Okay, very good. So you share what you feel sa iyong kaibigan and your friend will be there to support you. Very good, Joseph. Karen. Okay, thank you din.
Minsan po natutulog pero madalas nakikinig ng music and nagbabasa or nagsusulat ng mga stories po.
Okay, so minsan nakikinig ng music, minsan nagbabasa. Very good. How about the others? May nagtaas si John Roma de Pia.
Ano po, ma'am, nagdadasal po, ma'am. Tapos po, pagtapos po nun, iiyak po. Tapos, pag okay na po, saka po ulit lalaban.
Okay, so crying is actually sometimes a very helpful one kasi pag hindi ka umiiyak ang hirap no? So kinikimkim mo lang. So kahit pag isa ka lang, it's nice to cry and laban lang sa susunod na araw. Very good. Mark.
Thank you po,
Ramos.
ma'am.
Thank you, Pia.
Ma'am, ano po, pupunta po sa bahay po ng kaibigan, ganun. Tapos
Okay.
maglilibang-libang po.
Okay. Hindi naman kayo magkaibigan ni Joseph. Okay. Kasi siya kasi sa kaibigan din no? So, si Mark ay pupunta sa bahay ng kaibigan. Very good, Mark. That's a nice thing to do. You have a good friend. How about the others? Chat na lang po ba? Meron pa po bang mag-open ng mic? Okay, so the rest ay nagchat-chat na lang. Okay, so if you don't want to open, Joseph, come. Yes.
Ma'am, kapag nagsalita na po ba dito, hindi na pwedeng mag-chat? Hindi na
Pwede ka rin naman mag-chat. Kaya lang, isa lang naman din kasi si Christine Joy, minomonitor na yung sa chat box.
Sige po, thank you po.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Okay, how about the others? Grisel, kamusta ka dyan? Kaya hindi ka pa nag-out,
Nag-out na ba, ma'am?
Ay, ma'am, bago yan. Sige, ikaw, what do you usually do? Pag may stress ka.
Ano, ma'am? I walk around po.
You walk around? Wow.
Yes,
sa bahay mo?
Hindi po. Sa other place, ma'am.
Saan?
Sa ibang lugar po.
Okay. Lumalabas ka, ganun.
Yes, ma'am. Para po mas nakakapag-isip ako pagka naglalakad.
Okay. Sometimes ganun nga. Okay, thank you, Grisel. So, walk around. Ako din, naglalakad na pa. Okay? So, lahat po ba ng nandito ay nagta-type pa? Baka po i-out ko to I will do something na ikakasaya ko. May kinig ng music, magja-jog. Ay, napakagaling naman ni Clarence, magja-jogging. Ibigay na inspirasyon at nanonood ng K-drama. Okay, that's 1, 2. Beljon, you're raising your hand.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
i-comment po ba yung naalala nung last lesson, yung citation din po?
Oo, kasama yun sa chine-check. Thank you. Tingnan natin. Always choose to stay cool. Okay? Nakikinig ng music, pupunta sa tahimik na lugar. When really stressed, always. Okay. So, meron na po ba sa inyo? Rika, tapos ka na?
Na ano po, ma'am?
Mag-recite?
Nag-chat na lang po ako.
Okay, so sige. Bye-bye, Rika. John
Thank you
Michael,
po,
how about
ma'am.
you? Bye-bye, Rika. How about you, John Michael?
Tapos na po pareho.
Okay, sige na. Bye-bye na.
Sige po, ma'am.
Bye-bye. Bernard, Sevilla. Yun, wala na. Okay.
Thank you po.
Thank you din, Marilyn. Genesis, tapos ka na, di ba? Or may tinatype ka pa? How about you, Ansel? Alam ko tapos na si Genesis eh. Christine, nagsagot na si Genesis, di ba?
Opo, ma'am.
Si Ansel ba nagsagot na? Hindi ko maalala kung nagsagot ngayon si Ansel.
Alin po, ma'am? Sarmiento po ba? Pasensya na po, medyo choppy po kasi kayo, ma'am eh.
Nagsagot ka na ba, Ansel?
Saan po?
Sa
recitation po?
Oo.
Opo, ma'am.
Okay. O, sige, pwede ka nang mag-leave.
Ma'am, salamat po
Okay, sige. Bye-bye, Ansel.
Bye-bye po.
Okay, Christine, tapos na tayo. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you po.